Hey guys, what's up? You've probably read on the title. We're going to be connecting these necks to these bodies today. A friend of mine asked me to do kind of sort of a deep dive on it, so we'll probably focus on that and maybe get the carving done. Maybe get the carving on these necks done. Fair warning, you know, there's two types of people who build things, and one of them are the kind of people who meticulously research something and they learn from other people and then they execute. And then you have people who kind of sort of just wing it. And guess which kind you're dealing with. Let's hope this works. All right, so a lot of how you're going to do this depends on what hardware you're going to use. I think the most popular option are the barrel nuts, which kind of sort of go in sideways. The cool thing about those is that you have a little bit more wiggle room, and I think long term they're probably more stable. I couldn't find them anywhere though, and so what I ended up buying were the ferrules that just go straight into the wood, which is these types. And the problem with that is these things long term can actually like strip out the wood. So you're tightening to get the thing in there and then they can kind of sort of come loose. So these are a little bit more finicky. You have to make sure that your alignment is much more precise when it comes to placing these. I think I have a way of making sure that I'm really on point with that, but we'll see. So the first thing we had to do was make the mortise for the tenon. And it really wasn't all that tricky, other than how nerve-wracking it is to actually take a high-speed router to such a delicate instrument. I'm not sure if there's another stage or another way of doing this, but I'm going to look into it. The trickiest part here was actually getting the guitar into the clamp without actually cracking the top. But I've been eyeballing those vacuum clamps that people have, and maybe I'm just trying to rationalize buying something. Time to test the fit. That'll do. All right, I think we're at the part that I think is most nerve-wracking, and the one that I think is, I'm not exactly sure the best way of doing this, but what we have to do is we have to make sure that these screws are going to be going from the inside of the guitar, right, through the holes, and then precisely line up with where we want them to go in the neck, so that everything sits precisely where we need it to. So anyway, this is one way to do it. You're going to need a brad point drill bit, a good decent size. You got a little bit of room. You want to make sure your screw fits in the hole that you make. Here's the thing. I don't think it matters where the two holes are in here or where they are in the neck. I think really you can choose those 2 points arbitrarily. What matters is that they both line up perfectly. Before you get to this point, just make sure you've squared everything up. You don't want to kind of sort of go in messing with this stuff after the fact, because the closer this is to the way you want it to be done when you drill these holes, the more accurate it's going to be. So what I did is I made sure that everything was squared, everything is flat, everything is lined up especially how I want. The center line is going through, I already measured it. The center line is going all the way through to the center of the guitar. So this should be probably the most accurate placement that I can manage. You want to kind of sort of do it that way, right? Make sure that you've taken the time to work all that stuff out, because I get a feeling that if you don't, life is going to get really complicated when you're trying to put the whole thing back together again. All right, so now we get to the tricky part, right? How are we going to line up those holes with the holes that we need to make here? And I think the easiest way to do that is, like, now that you have those holes drilled out, you can run the brad pit, the exact same drill bit that you used. Run it through there into the hole that you've made, right? And so when you put this neck back on and you line it all up, what you should be able to do is use that brad point in order to mark exactly where you need to drill that hole. So now we have both of our points marked off. And now comes the moment of truth. So, believe it or not, that actually worked. It's good. There's a gap that's opened up here now, so I'm gonna have to try to figure out what's going on with that. Otherwise, it's perfectly lined up with the center line, so it's actually working really well. I think we might have a guitar here, folks. We might actually have a guitar. So we repeated the entire thing with the ukulele, except the ukulele only has one bolt. And I'm glad I made this tenon wider than the plans did, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't have been able to fit the bolt in it if it hadn't been made a little bit wider. So with all that out of the way, there was nothing else to do other than to carve the neck and finish up the headstocks. There's not really much to say about this other than it had been a while since I had done a neck carve, and I hadn't realized how long it's been. It's one of my favorite parts of the build. Anyway, I'll shut up now and let you guys just enjoy the view. So we're heading into the final stretch of these builds, and I think all we really have left after this is some binding, make the bridges, and put a finish on these things. So if you want to see how they turn out, hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.